I'm good. I mean, Oscar nominations came out this morning, and a lot of people were angry, but Uh-oh. You hear the Greta sing a song. No. They're like, "Oh, I guess it's Greta's show tonight." Will Gentry says, "This is your big chance to take over his channel." Thank Oh, technology. For people who can't hear him, he's trying really hard to get the audio working. I feel so much pressure to, like, entertain people, and I'm feeling very uncomfortable right now. Okay, Tina just asked me, "What's my favorite musical?" That is a good question. Um, Probably The Sound of Music, and that's also, my favorite movie of all time, and I guess I'll explain why that's my favorite movie. Not only is it just something that you can watch over and over again, um, I mean, Julie Andrews is, like, just perfection. She's just the perfect human being, and also, it was actually the first movie that I ever saw as a kid, like, probably as a baby, actually. It was my mom's favorite movie, and my oldest sister is named Liesel, and she said that when I was an infant, she had me in the high chair and she had the movie on, and she said that I was completely mesmerized. So, yeah, that I would say that's my favorite musical of all time, and my favorite movie of all time is The Sound of Music.
Oh my god. Now everything's glitching. Now everything is glitching. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna try one more thing. Try this. Let me try one more thing. So
Can y'all hear me? I know I'm not on screen anymore.
Yeah. So let's try this. Done. Okay. Add new. Oh wait, no. New. Done. What? What? Why? Ah! Work!
Oh, you didn't need to scream.
I'm sorry. They're not gonna know.
If you don't see, they say they can hear you.
It's working? What?
Yeah, they say they can hear both of us.
Rip headphone scream. You can hear me now? Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I don't know what I did that made it work.
But now I'm not on screen anymore.
I know, now you're not on screen anymore. Maybe that's just how... Maybe... Alright,
I mean, they got to see what I look like.
They did. Let me try this one more time, but if we lose audio, then it's game over. Alright. Hangout. Add new. Hangout. Done.
Wow, this chat's really going, y'all.
I know, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. Okay. Okay. Can y'all still hear me? Can y'all still hear me? Tina says yes. Okay, gotcha. Let me just lower my volume a little bit. Okay, all right. Well, that was a weird turn of events. But anyway, guys, welcome to Odin's Movie Blog. I am the critic who is a cynic, and technology sucks. But let me once again introduce my guest that you all know very well at this point, since you haven't heard me this entire time, and that is the wonderful Greta. And just to explain once more, so the situation is that Laura was going to be on the stream tonight, but she couldn't make it, and so she decided to gift her spot away to Greta, who is not only a patron, but also a bare bones card-holding SAG member, and therefore the most qualified person, easily the most qualified person to be talking about the Oscars. Boom, there it is.
There's my SAG card.
SAG-AFTRA. SAG-AFTRA.
Legit.
Big Dice Something says, longest Odin boomer moment ever. Well, I'm so sorry that I blew out any of you guys' ears. Pop culture, what's up, dude? Shinphil, let's begin in hashtag OscarGate. Yes, indeed. So if you were listening to the title at all, and obviously not to me, because why would you hear me at this point? You know, obviously. We are going to be talking about the Oscars tonight, but before we do that, let me go ahead and shout out my patrons while I still have a voice. And so I'm going to shout out a Great Jedi, Adam Shawhan, Dave Bob, Elite System 32, Donald Hudson, Edward Coleman, Enrique Evangelista, Frank the Tank and the Shawhan Weird Dog Clan, Greta Zenner, who's on the screen with me right now, Harold Francis, the Hunky Chunky Funky Monkey, Inflamed Wood, It's a Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jeffrey Toon, Laura Story, Matthew Kadish, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin, Outpost Dyer, Perpetual Punster, Proper Jeremy, who sucks, The DJD Show, Those Two Ball Guys, Tina B, and Wolfgang Lounge. Oh, man. Thank you all so much for being patrons. So, before I get it, what? Rogue Baron says, WTF is a SAG card. Do you want to explain what a SAG card is?
So basically, I am a member of the Screen Actors Guild, that is SAG. And in order to get a SAG card, you have to book a movie role that has a line. You can't be like an extra. But I think the rules are different in California. I think in California you can be an extra, but you can get a SAG voucher. And I think if you get 3 vouchers, you're qualified for SAG. But in Louisiana, you have to have a movie role or a TV show role in which you say a line, and then you're qualified for SAG. And in Louisiana, you can stay a non-SAG member and still do films. But I know in California, they make you join SAG after a certain amount of time. But my acting teacher was like, why would you not join SAG? It's just the next level up. And so you pay a fee, and
yeah, in California, they make you join, they make you pay a fee, or otherwise you can't work anywhere.
I think the fee in California is much larger than Louisiana.
Oh, you know
and,
it.
Yeah, I think California, the fee is $3,000, which is insane. And I paid a little over $1,000 for the fee, and that's a one-time fee. And then I think you have like an annual fee, which is like $150, for like a renewal fee. But yeah, basically that's how you get into SAG.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm not one for being forced into membership, so I'm glad that I don't live in California, and also that I've never been in a movie that has a line. So.
Well, I mean, if you want to be an actor,
I know, yeah, no, like, absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, it's kind of inevitable. If you want to be like a known actor, you pretty much have to join SAG.
One of us.
And SAG actually like protects actors too from getting screwed over like with pay. So they're really good for that. And apparently they have really good health insurance. I mean, I don't book enough to be in their health insurance, but
but still, you are a member of SAG, and that is something that no one else in this chat can say. So,
yep.
Plus you didn't mention the best part. You get free movies. So do you want to explain? Do you want to play in explain the free movie process?
Bohemian Rhapsody and Black Klansman right here, and I have a few other ones.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've had friends that were in SAG, like years ago, and when I found out that they got free movies, I'm like, are you kidding me? I need to join SAG. And so basically, whenever the SAG Screen Actors Guild Awards come around, they want to make sure that you see all the movies and vote fairly. And so they send you either DVD screeners, or they send you a code that like a link online that you can watch the movies. But I'm not even like a really busy person, and I'm like, I still don't have time to watch all of this. There's not even just movies, there are TV shows as well. So I'm like, even the big time actors, I'm like, who has time to watch all of these and vote fairly? So I don't think every single Screen Actors Guild member probably watches all the movies.
It makes sense fairly to me, because I mean, would you say that it's fair to say that a lot of members of SAG are very elderly and probably don't get out to the movies very much?
I mean, I don't know how many people are in SAG, to be honest. There's probably a lot, though.
Yeah.
But even I used to work for like a pretty successful actress, and I know that she never watched any of the SAG movies. I actually like borrowed a lot of her SAG movies that she got. I know she never watched them, and she's like, I mean, she was on a TV show, and so she's very, very busy, but she's not like the elite Hollywood person. So I'm like,
I guess it makes sense, because in my mind, I always thought that SAG sent out DVDs and screeners because there's a bunch of old people that don't go to the theater anymore, and they want to make sure that they get the screeners, so that way they'll vote. And they're trying to say, like, look, we'll give you free stuff. But now that you're talking about it, it makes more sense, because if an actor is working all the time, then they don't really have time to go see movies, or often they'll miss movies if they're in production for a movie. So it makes sense that they would send them in that situation as well. So
yeah, and so they could be on set. On set there's a lot of downtime, and so that could be like a good opportunity to say, oh, let me watch some of my screeners.
Yeah.
While I'm on set. But I really highly doubt that actors take like the time to let me watch my screeners for SAG.
Yeah, so Brad Noble made a good point, saying it's SAG, Odin, not AARP. And also, I saw a question, I think it was left by, I want to make sure I credit, Will Gentry, I think, asked, so you do get to vote. I mean, for people that don't know, that means also she gets to vote during the SAG Awards.
Actually, I was going to vote today. I might vote after this stream, because I think the deadline is Friday.
Okay.
But I want to like get it in there.
So because this is totally legal, who are you voting for?
Let me go look for the nomination list. Hold on. I know like the 5 categories, the 5 movie categories. The shows I might like wing it on, but let's see. Let's start with Best Supporting Actor. I'm gonna vote for Mahershala Ali for Green Book.
Wait, actually, I was kind of joking because
you were?
I thought you can't share who you vote for. Is that is that a myth or can you?
I don't know.
Okay, I just wasn't sure. I just wanted to make sure because I didn't want to. We meant it as a joke because I thought you couldn't, but then you're like, "Oh, let me share," and I'm like, "Oh, so you can." I just want to make sure. I don't want you to get in trouble. So.
Yeah, that's especially since you're gonna like publish the stream too.
Well, I mean, it's live right now, and it'll eventually go live on the other channel. Which, by the way, guys, I have another channel. I saw some people, so I finally figured out the community tab on YouTube, and that people see it, and so I was like, oh, I've been trying to reach a bunch of people. Maybe I should try this instead. And so I posted the link to the first ever annual Wednesday Raven Awards, which everyone in the chat right now you should vote for. And all of a sudden, people started voting, and I'm like, oh, this is what I should have been doing this entire time, because there's some people that only have contact with me over YouTube and not in Discord, who are not members of the Discord, who are not members of, who are not on Twitter, for example. So I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. But anyway, yeah, I have a separate channel called Welcome to Asgard. Just Welcome to Asgard, and it's where I post all the live streams in their completion, because YouTube would just destroy the algorithm if I kept them up on this channel for some reason. So they go up there every single time. And also sometimes I will cut various things from those live streams and put those on the channel as an individual video. But also I do vlogs and stuff like that. And I think I'm going to start to do non-movie related topics on that channel too. So it's a channel that it's a work in progress, but it is there. So Super says, edit out of the stream. What?
Probably like what I could just say who my favorites are.
There you go. That's the way we can get around it. So Sag, if you're watching this right now, we're not saying who she's voting for. She's not telling us who she's voting for. She's just saying who her favorite person is. And that's all that's going on. So
okay, so out of I just pulled up like the list, but I can talk about like the movie category. So my favorite for Best Supporting Actor would be Mahershala Ali for Green Book, because I thought his performance was very good, and it's much better than his performance in Moonlight. I was pretty against his Oscar for that, because I just felt like
he was there. He just existed.
Just played a normal good guy. Exactly. I didn't see anything extraordinary about his performance, but I loved his performance in Green Book. Yeah. It showed a lot more range, and I think he definitely deserves it. Best Supporting Actress, this was kind of like probably the hardest category. And at first, it was between Rachel Weisz and Margot Robbie for Rachel Weisz for The Favorite and Margot Robbie for Mary Queen of Scots.
Interesting. Okay. Even though you thought Mary Queen of Scots was boring.
No, but I thought Margot Robbie is very, very good in it. Okay. And I like Saoirse Ronan as well, but Margot Robbie was very vulnerable, and I thought she's very emotional in the role, and I thought she did a really good job. But I'm leaning probably towards more Rachel Weisz, because even though The Favorite had a lot of problems, it was kind of weird.
Yeah.
She
was great in it. She was great. Like, again,
Rachel Weisz was good.
It's a movie I never plan to see ever again in my life, and I thought it was so pretentious, because even though I love the cinematography, it was so pretentious, because it's just the fisheye look, which is beautiful, but it's just one of those things the whole time you're like, all right, this is like someone stuck up who's trying to say, look at how talented I am, and look at all these interesting angles.
I thought it was interesting, up until the very end. I did not like the ending at all. I was just like, oh, there's some deeper meaning that I have to figure out. And I'm like, I don't like movies like that. Yeah. But I really liked Rachel Weisz, because she was, very like...
So I forgot her last name in the video I made today, but what did you think about Emma Stone's accent?
I think it's not bad. I'm not a huge fan of Emma Stone's acting. Yeah. Of course, I did not like that she won the Oscar for La La Land at all. I was very against that. Yeah. I don't hate her. I don't think she's horrible, but I think her acting style is very one note. She kind of acts the same in everything. Like, I watched Maniac, like the first few episodes of Maniac, and I just had to stop watching it. Jonah Hill's great in that, though. I just did
Just
not
not a fan of
enjoy.
hers, though.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
thought her acting in The Favorite, it was fine, and I thought her accent was fine,
Hmm.
even though I'm just like, oh, she is an American putting on an accent. Um, like it
Brad
didn't
says
really.
that she was great in Easy A.
Yeah, I mean she was.
She
I mean
plays
that's
it.
what
I
got
think
her.
if she's playing the teenager like every day, I actually say my favorite role Emma Stone's ever done was actually in The Help. I thought she was great in The Help. Help is a very
Yeah,
underrated film, I would say.
I did like The Help.
Yeah. All right,
Um,
so you have Rachel Weisz for Best Supporting Actress, and then you had Mahershala Ali, which I'm sure I say his name wrong, but I say it really quickly, so that way no one can tell if I'm saying it wrong or not, unless you listen very carefully, because I'm just terrible at pronouncing names. So who do you have for Best Actress? Who's your favorite?
um,
Rather, let me word it
who's
differently.
my
Who is your favorite? Who is your favorite for Best Actress?
I would say Glenn Close for The Wife.
Ooh.
And it's funny when I saw the trailer for it, I'm like, wow, this looks so boring.
Yeah.
Um, and then she won the Golden Globe, and I know how you say that the Golden Globes don't matter, but a lot of the times that they are like the same. They're usually predicted the same throughout the season. So I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, let me really check this out, and I got it also in the mail. And she, it, it might be like a career award though,
Yeah.
because she has been nominated for I think like 6 Oscars, but I did enjoy her performance a lot. It was very vulnerable, and she like really commands the screen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm surprised that Jonathan Pryce didn't get nominated. He's wonderful in that movie as well. Both of them together are just magic on screen. They're
Yeah.
so lovely together. Um, and I know it's funny. I really thought Lady Gaga would be like the favorite to like win the Oscar this year, and I'm kind of glad that they're not like shoving awards in her face, because she was good in A Star Is Born, but she's definitely not Oscar worthy though.
Yeah, and that's kind of my thought process on her, is because I thought that she did great in A Star Is Born, but she's still green. She's obviously still very new to acting in big roles on the big screen, and so yes, I thought she was fine. I don't mind her getting nominated here, because I do think that she gives a great performance, and just the singing that she does alone is fantastic. But definitely don't think that she should be winning anything in the future. But yeah, I kind of want to. You make me want to see The Wife, because I do like Glenn Close, and I haven't seen that movie, so.
I mean, I have it. You can borrow it.
That's true. That is very true. We got a super chat, though, from William Jenkins. Thank you very much for the $10 super chat, Will. He says, Star Wars Theories movie should be the best picture of 2018. FYI, F California. Literally every other state is cheaper. I grew up in California during the Rodney King riots. California is a blight on the United States. Woo, man, some harsh words for any Californians in the chat. But I would say that California is definitely not doing well. I think that the fact that people are mass migrating out of California into other states is very much evidence of that. The fact that the prices continue to go up, but the population isn't really matching it, I think is eventually going to lead to California getting into some very, very serious trouble. And overall, I am quite concerned and quite worried for the future of California. So thank you very much, Will, for the super chat. Any thoughts on California, Greta?
I did spend time in Los Angeles a couple summers ago.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love LA because it's so full of movie history that it's like dreamland for me. Especially like, I was such a huge tourist when I was there. I went to like Hollywood Boulevard. I took like I took the Paramount Studio tour. Did the Kodak Theater tour. And I just loved every minute of it. But I don't really have experience living there. I don't know what that's really like. And I mean, I wasn't really paying for much when I was there. I was living with my boss because I was helping her move from Louisiana to California.
Yeah.
And she kind of like, it was more of a vacation rather than actual work.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, because I remember I lived out there for about 9 months. I did an internship working for a nonprofit production company. Thought that eventually I was going to get a job out of it. Didn't happen. And so I came back home. And I'm glad, because California is a great place to visit. It's a terrible place to live, is pretty much my mindset over that. But Will, thank you very much for the super chat. Reed Palancia, thank you very much for the $5 super chat. Hello and welcome, Greta. How difficult is the process in choosing a winner? Do you need to know the business and people well professionally?
For SAG?
For SAG. I'm assuming that Reed is talking about for SAG. So how difficult is the process of choosing a winner, and do you need to know the business or people well professionally? For you, for your, like, how you vote. Seeing that this is your first year voting?
It is my first year voting. Because I joined SAG in May.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really that difficult choosing a winner because, like, every year for the Oscars, I always kind of chose my own winners of who I thought deserved the award. And, like, every year I always go see as much, like, most of the movies as possible to try to, like, give a fair winner. So it's really not that difficult for me. I mean, it will be for the TV stuff because I just didn't see it, like, barely out of it.
Well, because TV is a whole other animal. Because it's one thing to sit down and watch a movie for an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's another to sit through an entire season of a show, where it can easily be very, very, very much so crazy. Peabody says you can take away Tico now. We have a Greta. Peabody, I'll have you know, I put the window in this position so that way we could still see Tico. So I did that for you, bud, because Aussie Rose Tico is here to stay. And we got Nerdrotic channel in the chat. So Nerdrotic is another great YouTube channel. Go check him out. He's awesome. Thank you for stopping by, man. Really do appreciate seeing you here. And again, guys, I am sorry if I'm missing any of your chats, but as you guys know, whenever I have anyone on the channel, it's always going to be a little bit different just because I want to make sure everyone is given enough time. I want to make sure Greta has enough time to talk and to respond and to answer questions and all that kind of stuff. So I will do the very best that I can to keep an eye out for the chat for any questions. But before we continue through your SAG preferences, not ballot, but preferences, what are your thoughts? So since we're talking mostly about, you know, once we finish with the SAG, we're going to talk all Oscars. But a general Oscar thing that's been going around is, because I forgot who was the one that asked the question, but what are your thoughts on how people are once again very frustrated that women did not get nominated for director, cinematographer, and other categories that it seems to be a difficult arena for women to break through into, at least for Oscar nominations? Do you think that it's a gender bias? Do you think it's just because of the numbers? Or do you have your own separate opinion on what's going on with that?
I really don't think it's a gender bias because I saw, I watched Geeks and Gamers video about it and how he said that he mentioned Amber Tamlin's tweet, and it kind of, that's another thing that I was referencing in my video that I posted, and I'm like, you're just going to keep trying to find like a little tiny thing, like this little person wasn't nominated for this, and I'm like, you're never going to be satisfied. And so talking about women, and specifically no woman was nominated for Best Director, and I was like, well, I can't think of anything that would be nominated. And then I saw like comments saying, oh, what about Can You Ever Forgive Me or Mary Queen of Scots? And I watched like the beginning of Can You Ever Forgive Me, and it was like, okay. I started watching it after Black Panther, and I was just kind of bored. And so I just turned it off. I mean, I'll like finish it one day, but yeah. And then also Mary Queen of Scots. It wasn't that great. I would not nominate those two films for Best Director at all. Yeah. Like you can't nominate somebody just because you want a woman in the category. I feel like it would mean so much more if they really deserved it. And it makes me mad when they're like, oh, there's no women. But I'm like, no, I would rather be no women than have a woman on there who doesn't deserve it. Exactly.
And that's kind of my whole process, and that's why I'm being so critical of Black Panther, because no one can tell me with a straight face that the reason why Black Panther got nominated is because it's one of the best movies of the year. No one can tell me with a straight face.
I'm not like a huge superhero movie person. Like I saw Infinity War, I liked it, and so I'm like, okay, I've got Black Panther, let me watch it. And I really enjoyed it. It had some problems, and I was like, wow, like I enjoyed this movie. But if I had seen this in theaters like last February, I would never been like, yo, this is groundbreaking. It has to be nominated for an Oscar. Yep. I would never think that. Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And it's a sad truth. And that's why I know that, because you mentioned Greta does have a YouTube channel, and she did post her own thoughts on the Oscars. And I understand
where you're coming from, because just talking about the video, you talk about how you hate the negativity and you hate how it's just become it's become very toxic. And I don't think it's really just talking about this year. When you think just about the Oscars in general, it's been going downhill for a long time. And it's not just with how we are, like, people who are critical of the Oscars react, but it's also like the people who are in it react too. Like how people get nominated who really deserve it, and then the first thing they think about is, well, there's just not enough diversity, or, oh, there's just not enough women, or etc. And so they come up with these excuses, but then of course with them saying that, it makes people like us mad, because we're like, okay, well, now you're showing us why we don't watch it in the first place, because you're trying to turn it into essentially, okay, yeah, you get nominated because you deserve it, because you are a certain race or you're a certain gender, etc., which is just not how we should be looking at it. The Oscars used to be, in many people's minds, the pinnacle of movie making, where if you won Best Picture, it was because you were arguably one of the best, if not the best movie of the year. And now the Oscars are given out, and I mean, let's just think about, like, from a couple years ago, Moonlight. How many people actually saw Moonlight? And people that did see Moonlight, how many people consider it to be one of the best movies?
I will go on a rant about that Oscar season.
Man.
I would say, I mentioned in my video, I've been watching the Oscars since I was 12 years old. Yeah. Like the Oscars right before Lord of the Rings won everything. And that was literally the worst Oscar season that I had ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
I would just, like, that was the year that Emma Stone won and Mahershala Ali won for
a role that he should,
Moonlight.
He should, like, I feel like they gave him his Oscar too soon, because now they might be tempted to give it to him this year again, and it's like, okay, he might deserve it this year, but he also shouldn't be a two-time Oscar winner.
But yeah, I remember watching the movies that year and thinking, well, that was kind of underwhelming. Maybe this will be good. Now that was kind of underwhelming too, and I'm like, well, all these movies are so underwhelming. And most of the things that won that year were so undeserving. And I think Jimmy Kimmel hosted. That was the first time he hosted, and he was a horrible host.
Oh God, yeah.
I'm so glad they didn't call him again this year.
How did he get the Oscars 2 years in a row? That's what I want to know.
He's so unfunny.
It's not like he brought in the ratings. It's not like they had a rating spike because he was the host. And I think that someone made a good comment after everything that happened with Kevin Hart. It's the job that nobody wants, because everyone saw, like, you see what happened to Kevin Hart? Yeah. That's the kind of stuff that happens. You get put in the spotlight, and then all of a sudden, all your dirty laundry gets brought back up, and they want to tear you down because, as you said, it's this negativity that's not just from people like me, but also people in Hollywood and the people in the media, too. And it's it's crazy.
And I can't believe that if something good happens to somebody like Kevin Hart, when he first found out he was going to be hosting the Oscars, he was so excited. And somebody, like, these people have to dig into his Twitter to find something negative. I'm like, that's so horrible.
Yeah.
That this is our society nowadays, that people have to dig and find something terrible and bring it up, and now it's like a new thing. And like honestly, it makes me scared. Like, say I am successful one day.
Yeah.
Like, I'm literally afraid of saying certain things on the internet because somebody will dig and try to find it and turn it into something awful.
Yeah. And that's why it's almost like I kind of don't even want you to be on right now, because like, if you are seen affiliated with anyone who in their mind has a right-leaning bent, then, oh, you're done. You can't work. And it's kind of sad because you can probably count on one hand the number of big successful actors who are more conservative-leaning or have, like, voted Republican in the past. And they're very rare. And they usually don't speak up. And when they do, sometimes it hurts them. And it's really sad that there's this kind of closed-mindedness that exists where you can't even have a difference of opinion and still hold up. But someone made a very good point. It was Rogue Baron. He says, okay, Odin, petition to turn movie budgets into chocolate. Yes. Yes. Because if they're paid in chocolate, everyone's happy. And that would make me want to be in the movies even more so, because I would love to work for chocolate. So thank you very much, Rogue Baron, for that one. Patrick Redelfs, what's going on? And Peabody, I've been seeing your comments too, man. And thank you very much. Yes, indeed. This community is fantastic and great. And I'm so glad also Peabody's been making videos too. So go check out his channel. Very, very new channel. He's been making videos for a few months now, I think. Maybe a month or two. Maybe even more than that. But he's got some good stuff on there. So go give him some love. Go give him some constructive feedback. Let's see. Super Anime Gamer, I think what pissed me off most about Kevin Hart was the holier-than-thou reaction. Like, you've never made a joke. No, I think that's a good point. Like, the people who say like, oh my God, I can't believe that he said this. I can't believe that he threatened. And what's interesting to me is that, okay, so you're freaking out because he said something about homosexuality, but you're kind of skipping over the fact that if you're taking him seriously there, then you also must be taking seriously about how he threatened to take a house and slam it over his child's head. So why aren't you going further to say that he is a child abuser? If we're gonna take everything that super seriously, then why didn't you go that far? Oh wait, that's right, because you just went far enough to feed your own ambition, to feed your own, you know.
You know what? I just thought of something.
Yeah.
Speaking of like bad taste in jokes, so I know you didn't watch the Golden Globes, but
Yeah.
some of those jokes were terrible. There was one that was like really horrible bad. It was talking. Might be spoilers for A Star Is Born, so if you haven't seen it, I'm sorry. But Andy Samberg, they're talking about A Star Is Born with Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga, and I think they're introducing them, and he said. He discovered her in a restaurant or something, and then he said, and she discovered him in the garage. And I was like, that's disgusting. How is that funny at all? And there are a lot of jokes kind of like that. And I'm like, you're going to go after Kevin Hart for saying that, but like Andy Samberg says that disgusting joke, and it's just a pass.
Oh, it's fine. It was fine. He just meant it in jest. And Kevin Hart didn't, obviously, because you can't joke about that kind of stuff anymore because that is the world that we live in. Nerdrotic Channel, I see your comment. Well, first, hold on. I want to be fair here. Reed Palancia, thank you very much for the $5 super chat once again. Reed, you're awesome. Reed says, not interested in seeing the Oscars, although I can listen to Odin and Greta and be entertained. Good stuff and interactive. Well, Reed, thank you very much, and I appreciate that. Will Gentry says, Odin, that's the problem with the intersectional religion that's going on in Hollywood today. It's so hypocritical. No, you're absolutely right. Like, seriously, it's basically you're good or you're allowed if you check off certain things about yourself. And that is kind of the problem with our culture nowadays, too, where if you don't fit this intersectional narrative, you either don't exist in their mind or you're just automatically going to be a racist or a sexist or homophobe, etc., because you don't line up with them perfectly. And it's really dangerous because they're going to end up eating their own in the process. But the question, getting to Nerdrotic, do they have a host yet? No. In fact, it was announced. It was announced that they are going to be going hostless, not hostess. That would be awesome. If they were going hostess, I would be all down for watching the Oscars because, oh my God, I'd be waiting constantly to say, if you text this number, you might get a hostess, you know, for the rest of your life. And I'd say, oh my God, I will totally watch just so that I can text this number to this person to get somehow a chance to win hostess for life. But unfortunately, no, it's not hostess, it's hostless, which means that you're going to have a bunch of Hollywood writers writing little skits for these big Hollywood types. So it's not just you have one Jimmy Kimmel. Now you're going to have 1,000 Jimmy Kimmels, all with their own different agendas and political aspirations.
I mean, what I'm hoping they're going to do for the beginning is have what they used to do for some hosts. They used to have a montage of the movies. And that's what I'm hoping that they're going to do. Instead of an opening monologue, just have a montage. But then, I don't know.
Yeah.
They could just...
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, Tina says Twinkies. Oh my God, if it was Twinkies, guys, seriously, like if there were Twinkies at the Oscars and if there was a chance for you to win Twinkies, I think that everyone, like, oh my God, Oscars. If you want to bring people back, Twinkies, Hostess products. Put all of the identity politics aside for just a night. Just one night. You're doing it every day otherwise. One night, put it aside. Focus it on Hostess and chocolate and think about how many people will watch your show. Think about it. It'd be amazing. Let's see, Peabody. I was thinking not just about me, but Greta, Steph, Donald Hudson, Adam Shawhan. We all want to be a part. Absolutely, man. And seriously, and that's why I love like everything that's been happened recently, like with the changes that I've made, is that it allows me to do more stuff where I'm able to bring people on. And I want to start having more. The unfortunate thing is that I only have so many hours in a day. I have only so many hours I can dedicate to live streams because I try when I live stream, I want to make sure that it's a like beefy live stream, and I don't want it to be like, oh yeah, I can do 20 minutes today, 30 minutes this day. I want it to be something that I can sit down and actually dedicate time to. So unfortunately, I mean, if I had more time, I would love to try and get more, like, to have one show where it's just me, like the Welcome to Asgard on Mondays, the One Man Low Council, you know, have a little bit more interaction, but then maybe have like a second day other than just the movie night that we have on Saturdays to have something else. That actually might be something I might do, is I might open up those Saturday nights to more people, because it might be more interesting to have multiple people on talking about the movie rather than just me. But that's all stuff that I'm going to be looking into the future. Brad Noble says, I'm all in for the Odin non-Razzies. That's the beautiful thing about the Raven Awards, and thank you for the segue, Brad. The great thing about the first annual Wednesday Raven Awards is that it's both the Oscars and Razzies all wrapped into one. Is that you get to vote for your favorite, but you also get to talk about who you hated the most in a given year in film. And it's great. It's fun. So fill out your ballot. Again, guys, you get to control it. Again, if enough of you vote for one movie, there's a high chance that movie is going to get nominated for a Raven Award. And guys, you get to hang out with me, hang out with a bunch of other people. Greta's going to be watching both, at least last time I checked, because obviously, like, and I understand, like, because Greta has this passion and love for the Oscars, for the history that the Oscars have. I don't think for what it is now, but for the history that the Oscars has. And I had that same love for a long time, but then 2 years ago, I just lost it. I just was like, when I saw the nominations, I was like, okay, I can't continue going forward. And then last year was my first, like, all that boycott, where I was like, no, I'm not going to do it, because I knew what it was going to be. It turned out to be exactly what I thought it was going to be. And, you know, I'm glad that I didn't partake in it, but I wish I had the same sense of hope that you had, Greta. Do you want to explain maybe why you still have that sense of hope and love for the Oscars?
Well, I always just hope that, you know, since there's been more and more anger and hate, especially now more than ever, I just think that maybe in a few years that it's just going to, like, turn a certain way, and people are going to be tired of it and decide, okay, let's make this about the movies again.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think the Oscars were the best, well, since I've been alive, like about 10 years ago. I think those were the best Oscars, like around 2007, 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
Because they were so passionate about the movies, and there were all these skits about, like funny little skits about the movies. And, like, I just think of, you know, Billy Crystal and Hugh Jackman and how much I loved those shows.
Yeah, because Hugh Jackman did the one where it was it a strike or no? It was the economic downturn.
It was the writer's strike, I think.
Because it was that, and it may have also been the stock market or the housing crash. Because I think it was actually 2008.
Yeah,
it was like, no, maybe 2009. It was going into it, and I remember because they had to strip everything down.
And yeah, like the paper cutouts and stuff.
And the whole opening song was done on little to no budget, and I thought it was funny.
Oh,
it was very entertaining.
That was one of the best Oscar shows, because he's also a fantastic singer as well. And
he's not political. He's not a political guy either. And that's what's great about the older shows is that, yeah, you still had politics. Like, a documentary winner would make a political point. Or maybe one other person would say something. But for the most part, it was very much, let me thank the people who I need to thank, etc. And it's only been, like, I think, over the last 5 years or so that it's just become so over-politicized where now it's almost every single award. Even just the presenters alone have to make some kind of point, and it's just like, no, just stop, focus on the movies, let's celebrate the best films, not this nonsense.
Yeah, and it gets really tiring when people are like, this is the first time this has been nominated, and this is the first time this has been nominated. It's like, okay, do we have to do this every single time? Like,
there's new standards every time. Like, the next thing is going to be, this is the first time that a woman who used to be a man but thought about it and became a man once again won an Oscar. Oh, really? Oh, it's history, guys. Oh, my God. But, like, that's eventually where it's going to come to, where it's going to be the most obscure facts. And it's going to be like, okay, how is that relevant or important? Like, it bothers me so much. Will Gentry says, well, that's the thing about politics. It is always swinging from one side to the other. So in a few years, with any luck, it'll swing away from the woke fest position it's in now. I hope so, Will.
That's what I'm hoping too. Like every 10 years or so, it goes back and forth.
Yeah, I really hope so. Rhaegar Targaryen says, my favorite part of the Oscars is when they give awards and nominations to movies no one likes, saw, or ever heard of. So every year, at least, especially recently. I want to say the last Oscar race I was genuinely interested in because I hated one movie so much and really liked the other one, was Avatar versus The Hurt Locker.
Oh yeah, that was one year that
was
I
fun.
actually didn't really like that
know.
much.
You didn't know what was going to happen. Like, I mean, Oscar race, not the Oscars itself, but the Oscar race that year.
Yeah, I'm talking about the movies that year. I remember.
Yeah.
I probably have to like refresh myself, but I remember not really liking the movies that year. Like, I didn't really like that Sandra Bullock one because I didn't really think her performance was really worthy.
I didn't think The Blind Side should not have gotten nominated for Best Picture, but I did like the movie.
I think that was the year that there were like 10 movies, and there's like
it was the first year.
Much.
It was the first year because that was the year. I want to say that was the year that they had reacted to, because some people, someone had mentioned it earlier in a video that I was watching. So The Dark Knight didn't get nominated for Best Picture, and people were pissed. Like, people were like, not just that it didn't win, it didn't get nominated, and that's because during that time there were only 5 movies that could get nominated. There were only 5 slots, and the outrage was so bad. The outrage was so vocal that they changed the rules. Because I remember this. The first year they changed the rules.
Yeah, I remember that too, actually.
Yeah. Because the first year they changed the rules. Because people don't remember this. The first year, it was 10. Like, you know how it became this weird thing? Because now, 2 years after, like, you had the 1 year where it was 10. And then every year after that year of 10, it became this convoluted system where it could be as little as 5, but as many as 10, as long as it fits this very arbitrary line percentage that we came up with magically. And if it just misses it by 1 vote, oh, sorry, you didn't reach it. So Skyfall, you probably were very close to getting nominated 1 year, but we can't have 10. We're only going to go with 8 or 9, which is just stupid. But that first year of 10.
It should be a set number.
Yeah. Yeah, like that first year of 10, though, is when they started to put movies like The Blind Side in there, and it was just like, what? And then, of course, it continued because then you got movies like Extremely Loud, Incredibly Close, which is one of the lowest rated movies to ever be nominated for Best Picture because it sucked.
Yeah, I still have not seen that movie, but I remember you telling me that it wasn't very good.
It's bad because it tries to use 9/11 as a plot point. And if you're trying to use 9/11 and the tragedy that was 9/11 as a plot point, sorry. Like, it's kind of like that movie with, what's his name? Robert Pattinson, where the whole twist is at the very end, the camera pans out and he's inside the Twin Towers on 9/11, and you're like, what? What are you doing? It's like, you seriously, the twist you decide, when you were writing the script, you said, you know what would be great? You know what would be awesome? And I think it was actually based off a book. So the writer of the book was like, you know what would be awesome? I'm going to have this whole movie about father and son, this whole story about father and son. I'm going to build it up over time. But then, you know what I'm going to do? The very end, it's going to be 9/11. He's going to be in the tower. And I'm like, oh, it was so bad. Sorry, but anytime that any movie or book does that, I just cringe because I'm sorry, it's not a plot point. It's a tragedy. Stop trying to use it to get emotion. Because at that point, it's not even, you didn't earn it at that point because you're using something that is actually like objectively sad, depressing, awful, and trying to use it because you can't write anything more clever. And it's sad. It's disgusting.
Yeah. I saw Tina say that the best part of that Oscar race was a James Cameron versus Catherine Bigelow for Best Director. That was funny.
That's true. And I don't remember much about that Oscars, but I do remember that race between those two movies because we honestly didn't know. I want to say that the awards were pretty split between the two, like the precursor awards. So it was one of those things where you honestly didn't know. And many people were predicting Avatar. Like, that was like the front runner.
Yeah, I thought Avatar was going to win too that
and I was
year.
so glad when it didn't because, God, I hate that movie. As many of you know this about me, I hate Avatar. It's one of the worst movies ever made, and the fact that there's going to be 5 or 6 of them disgusts me.
It should just stop. I mean, it's been 10 years, man. You can't really make a sequel anymore, let alone like 5.
Oh, I know. Let's see. So the Modest Observer had subscribed about 6 minutes ago, so thank you very much. And I just saw William Jenkins. Thank you so much, man. Dude, rocking it tonight. Thank you. Thank you for the $20 super chat. He says, would you ever consider bringing on Uncle Ethan, John Talks, or Nerdrotic channel to a stream? I know you and John Talks have streamed together. Best of the Oscars was Star Wars Theory. And I know that that's definitely a movie that's going to get nominated. At least I would say for the Raven Awards, it's going to get nominated for Best Low Budget Film. I don't know if it's going to have enough support to do Best Picture. It might. It might. I haven't decided how many movies I'm going to have. I might have 10. I think it might be my cutoff because I agree with trying to, give every movie an opportunity to be seen, but not just to put movies in there that suck, because I'm not the Oscars. But yeah, I'd be totally open to having them on. I know that. So Jeremy at Geeks and Gamers still owes me a live stream, so I'm gonna have him on the channel at some point, probably over the next month or so. John Talks, I'm gonna have him because I've been on his channel twice, so I need to have him out over here. Nerdrotic was in the chat, and I'd be totally down for doing something with him because he's cool, he's awesome, and I would love to talk to him, especially because he has a much better knowledge of television than I do. So it'd be cool to have those two different mindsets. And then let's see, Uncle Ethan. Uncle Ethan's too big. Uncle Ethan would not be on this channel. Ethan Van Sciver is too big, and he is just too sexy, and he just couldn't. My channel could not handle the epicness that is Uncle Ethan. So it'd be awesome. I'd love it. But also,
I just realized that I never finished my favorites for the SAG.
We'll get there. We'll get there. But Eric Rajala has a great one. He says it's Odin and the Trivia Lady.
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh man, oh man. All right, yeah. So we did actress, right? So who is your actress one more time?
It was Glenn Close
for the wife. So who is your favorite actor for SAG?
Actually, I said Best Supporting Actress was the hardest one. Take that back, because Best Actor is the hardest one.
Okay.
Because out of 3 of them, Bradley Cooper, Viggo Mortensen, and Rami Malek, it's really difficult, but I'm going to go with Bradley Cooper because his performance made me cry.
Boo!
Like, what do you mean, boo?
Viggo Mortensen deserves an Oscar.
No, I love Viggo Mortensen, and I just think he's not going to get it this year. That's why I'm like,
I know, because they're stupid, and they're going to hold what he said. You know, even though they took it out of context, they're going to hold what he said against them, probably, but he still deserves
I know
it.
I wish, I would love for him to win. I think his performance was outstanding, but I remember when I saw A Star Is Born, I was like, he needs an Oscar. Give him an Oscar right now. Because like he literally made me cry.
Yeah.
And but I think it will go to Rami Malek, and he's kind of like my 3rd place winner, though.
Yeah.
Like, I liked Bohemian Rhapsody, but there's something about his performance that bothered me.
It was probably the fake teeth.
It was the fake teeth. I like,
because
there's something, like, I just felt like there's something else, too, about the performance that just didn't really, like, and I realized this during his Golden Globe speech, that the way that he presents himself, I was like, that's kind of the same way he acted in the movie without the British accent. So I was like, But I have a feeling he's going to win the Oscar this year. I just have a feeling. But I would like Bradley Cooper to win. Also, I'm so mad they didn't nominate him for Best Director.
Yeah, what? And we'll get to the Oscars in a second, even though that's what the whole stream should have been about. But I think that they're having fun. We still have some people in here, so thank you for
still award season,
everyone sticking around. Yeah, obviously it's still award season, so it's definitely topical. But for me, Viggo Mortensen deserves it because not only to me is it a Lifetime Achievement Award Oscar, but just on paper, I liked his performance the best. Green Book, guys, like in all seriousness, is one of the best movies of the year. It is the only movie I think there's a couple on there for Best Picture. We'll talk about those, but it's one of the few movies that I could honestly love to see win something and get recognition. And one of the many reasons why is because of his performance, and I think that he does a great job. So Viggo is awesome, and I think that he deserves it first and foremost. But also I think that it's his time. Similar to another person for Best Supporting Actor, which is what's his name?
Oh, Mahershala Ali.
No. See, I think he's gonna win,
Wait, let me look.
I think he's gonna win for SAG, but there's another person that should win, and it's gonna be a Lifetime Achievement Award. I actually think he might win at the Oscars. I think Mahershala might win at SAG, but
Best Supporting Actor.
Oh, what's his name?
Sam Elliott?
Sam Elliott. That's it. I think Sam Elliott's gonna win at the Oscars because it's gonna be a Lifetime Achievement Oscar, honestly.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't mind if he won. He did a good job in The Star Is Born.
And he was great. I couldn't understand a word he was saying most of the time, but you know what? He still did a great job. But so who is your favorite for ensemble? Crazy Rich Asians, right? Because it's the greatest movie ever, right?
You read my mind. Oh no, it's actually Black Panther. Odin. I'm just kidding.
But say, get out! I'm gonna shut this down.
I almost called you by your real name.
I know, that's okay. That's okay. It's been, I'm gonna say, Freya's called me by my real name on the stream before, so.
Okay, so what's nominated is A Star is Born, Black Panther, BlacKkKlansman, Bohemian Rhapsody, and Crazy Rich Asians. Oh, I thought Green Book was nominated. It's not.
Not for ensemble, no.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well then, oh man.
So this is the one that the Screen Actors is going to give it to whoever. It's one of those years where the movie that's not the front runner is also not nominated for SAG. That happens a lot, actually, interestingly enough.
Yeah.
And so this is going to be an opportunity for them just to be like, hey, we're still woke. Don't forget.
Okay, so I guess between A Star is Born and Bohemian Rhapsody, I might just go with Bohemian Rhapsody then.
Okay.
Because not all the actors in A Star is Born were great. Like, I did not like Lady Gaga's best friend. I didn't think he was very good.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he's like nominated in there.
Really? Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, he would have to be. He is a supporting character and he's on screen a lot, so that makes sense.
But I did love everybody in a Bohemian Rhapsody, and I think that's more of an ensemble movie.
Yeah.
So I'm my favorite for that is.
Okay, yeah, your favorite for that, yeah, exactly. Not her choice. Her favorite for that would be that one, and I would say that makes a lot of sense to me. If it were me and I had to choose a favorite, like if I had a little card that allowed me to choose a favorite, out of that list, I would actually probably go in a similar direction. Because out of the ones nominated, it's the one that I could tolerate the most as far as wanting to award. So, let's see. William Jenkins, thank you very much again for another $5 super chat. The Expanse may be our only hope for modern sci-fi. Do you watch The Expanse at all, Greta?
I've never heard of it.
Really? Okay. Well, it's not only a sci-fi show, but it's also available on Amazon Prime. And I've seen the first episode and I like it. So I still haven't seen enough to give my full thoughts on it, but I do like the direction that it's going in. So overall, I would say it's a very enjoyable show. So I would recommend it. All after one episode, I could recommend it, in my expert opinion. But anyway, so getting to this Oscars list, since it's taken us about an hour and 6 minutes to get to this point. But I think everyone's had a good time. And we've also been talking about stuff like, we talked about the host and the director is not a single director being a woman and, why that's really not. Like, again, I want someone getting nominated because they've earned it and not because of their race or gender. And I think
people aren't mad that a woman wasn't nominated. I'm mad that Bradley Cooper wasn't nominated.
I am too. Seriously. Like, let's start there. Since obviously, like you mentioned it. So the nominees for Best Directing at the Oscars this year are for Spike Lee, which is, interestingly enough, his first nomination in his entire career.
Really?
Yeah, it's his first nomination. So Spike Lee for BlacKkKlansman. Powell Palikowski for Cold War. Try saying that 5 times fast. Yeah, again, a movie that no one's seen. Apparently it's on Amazon, so I think we can actually watch it right now, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm surprised that it wasn't in our local theater.
Yeah, I am too, and it's Amazon Studios, so it's interesting to see how Netflix and Amazon have both made a splash on the Oscars this year, especially when it comes to another movie on this list. So yeah, for the Cold War, what's interesting to me is that it sounds to me like it's going to be set during the Cold War, I imagine. So I wonder if it has a political agenda. Like, that's the only thing. Yeah. I don't know why else they would nominate something that no one's heard of. And it's a foreign film, too, so. I
saw the trailer for it, like, in theaters, and apparently it's gotten, like, rave reviews, but then, you never know, though.
Yeah. Yeah, so Powell Palikowski for Cold War, because Tina just said, who did you just say for something called Cold War? Yeah, Powell Palikowski got nominated over Bradley Cooper, and I don't think anyone, to me, this actually reminds me a lot of the year Argo won Best Picture, and Ben Affleck got snubbed. And I don't think I don't think A Star is Born is going to win. I just don't see that happening because I don't think there's going to be the same amount of hate and anger.
Oh, no, there's no way A Star is Born is going to win Best Picture. But, I remember, like, even when Seth MacFarlane hosted, he's like, they messed up during the Oscars.
Yep.
And they're like, they should have nominated him. Yep. They're idiots.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that everyone understood that, and it was kind of like a given thing. Well, who's the most tenured person that should get an Oscar? Oh, Ang Lee. That was your Ang Lee one, right?
Yes, I believe.
So would that have been Life of Pi?
That was for Life of Pi.
That's right. Life of Pi got an Oscar, everybody. There's so many thoughts.
I remember liking that movie though.
I hated it the first time. The first time it sucked. Once you know the twist, it's better. Because the twist helps to explain all the things that happen. You're like, oh, but this makes sense because of the twist. And I can let this go because of the twist. But when you're thinking it's all real, you're like, spoiler alert, guys. I don't even, Anyway, Yorgos Lanthimos for the favorite. Yeah. Roma, Alfonso Cuarón. For Roma.
I know you hated Roma,
yes.
but I think
I love Alfonso Cuarón. I think he's a very talented director.
He deserves it though.
Yeah.
I really think he deserves Best Director, and he's probably going to win.
Yes. I think that this is his year. I think that he's going to win. I honestly think he could win cinematography, too, because he's nominated there as well.
I think there's no doubt that he's going to win cinematography. If he doesn't, then...
I think Roma is going to... and I said this in my video earlier. I think Roma is a very, very serious contender for the dark horse. I think Roma could get enough love down on the ticket in things like foreign language film, directing, and a couple other places, where I think it has a shot at winning Best Picture.
I do, too.
I think if it's not Green Book, it's going to be Roma. I don't see any other film realistically winning except for those two.
I think it's between those two. And with the Golden Globes, Roma won Best Picture. And again, I think with it not... Actually, Roma and Green Book were nominated for SAG Awards, but then again, there was the year that American Hustle won Best Picture at the SAG Awards.
Oh my God,
and then
American Hustle.
Got 0 Oscars.
Yes, but, thank God for that, because American Hustle sucked.
Yeah.
Let me tell you how I really feel. American Hustle sucked.
But yeah, I think there's a very good chance that Roma will win Best Foreign Language and Best Picture. Would that be the first time that a foreign language film won Best Picture? I think it will be. I'm trying to think of back in the day. Didn't Life is Beautiful win Best Picture? Or no, Best Actor won. No, it won Best Actor and Best Foreign Language.
Maybe got nominated.
That was 97, so that was Titanic year, I think.
Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, I was thinking about it.
There's no way it won over Titanic.
It was up against Titanic. Let's say the last really good James Cameron film that I can remember, as far as like sequential is concerned. But anyway, so yeah, Roma, Alfonso Cuarón. As I said, and actually Tina had a question. Would one of you please tell me what the heck Roma is about? I keep hearing the title, but have no clue about it. So Roma...
Maybe I should explain it, because then you're just going to say, oh, it's so boring.
So Roma essentially, in my opinion, has no direct correlation to the events of the film. As far as, like, no one ever says Roma. There's not a city called Roma or anything else. There is a connection, but...
Yeah.
What's the and let me just say this first off. And again, Alfonso Cuarón is a very talented director. Gravity is one of my favorite modern films. It's beautiful. What him and Emmanuel Lubezki were able to do together is just magic. And he's very talented. Not to mention Children of Men. If you've never seen Children of Men, do yourself a favor
it's so good.
And watch it, because that'll show you how talented this guy really is. Roma, to me, just before you describe it, it's a movie that you need to have patience for. And if you're like me and you don't have a lot of patience, you're going to be bored to tears. And it's just, to me, it's so realistic that it's boring. Because to me, it's just like a day in the life of this person, but you're not interested in who they are or what they're doing. And on top of that, you're having to read subtitles to be able to understand what they're saying. So it's like this double thing where it's just like, ugh, I can't take it. But anyway, go ahead and explain what Roma is.
Okay, I have a different opinion than Odin on Roma. Roma is about this maid. Ooh, and she's I'm trying really hard not to sound
So it's about a maid and she's doing maid stuff, and like, there's dog crap on the ground. That's kind of big in the movie. And
no. Okay, so she works for this family, and she has for several years, and she starts dating this guy, and you think, oh, it's so cute, and then she finds out that she's pregnant, and she tells the guy.
Spoilers, by the way, everybody. Spoilers.
I mean, this is the beginning of the movie. She tells the guy, and the guy's like, "Oh, I'm gonna be there for you. It's no problem." And then he disappears and leaves her. And pretty much the movie is about her dealing with the pregnancy and with the family. The father goes on a business trip, but there's little hints throughout the movie that it's not really a business trip and that it's something else. And the whole dynamic between the family and I forget what her name was, like her nickname was Cleo, I think. Like it's so like Odin did say it's realistic, and I'm like, it's so realistic that it's not even acting. That I thought it was.
Which is why the fact that 2 of them got nominated for acting, I'm like,
yeah, I'm very happy about that because their acting is phenomenal in the movie.
I would disagree.
And, really?
I think that they were just being themselves, and I don't find that impressive.
Well, even they like emotionally reacted to a lot of things too, though.
Meh.
And I feel like you can't naturally do that. I mean,
just not. I wasn't impressed overall.
Okay, well, that's your opinion.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway.
Sorry, Rhaegar Targaryen just said something really funny. He says, "Miss Cleo has a cameo. Call me now." Oh, Miss Cleo. Yes, that Miss Cleo. She's in this movie, so go watch it.
But like it's pretty much their whole dynamic and how they're dealing with everything. And I'm not going to spoil it, but it's a very slow burn until like the last not that slow burn. But like you really have to pay attention to everything that's going on and
exactly.
Like
every detail matters, and if you don't pay attention to every detail, which by the way it's very slow at explaining, you're not going to get the ending.
No.
This is what I got.
I'm not explaining it very well, but I didn't find it that boring. But like there's like a gut punch at the very end. Because like, and I think that works because it's a longer movie, and that's like the emotional impact of it. I'm not going to spoil what happens, but something really traumatic happens to Cleo, and like I burst into tears because I was so moved by it.
I'm going to be honest, I need to see it again because I fell asleep. So I only remember that half of the movie and then the very end because I fell asleep because it was boring. So.
What point did you fall asleep?
I don't even remember.
Well, then I guess you don't really have an opinion then since you fell asleep.
I do because I fall asleep in movies that are terrible, like Annihilation, for example.
Not terrible.
And, oh God, it's boring.
Like, no, it's not. But like anyway, there is like something that happens at the end, and it's very traumatizing, and I cried. And it's also beautifully shot. Like, how is that boring if it's so beautifully shot? Everything.
I think Donald Hudson makes a great point. It says, Odin came out of Roma with gray in his beard. He has to dye it now. Hyperen, how to fall asleep. Advice from Odin. Watch a boring average movie.
It is not a boring average movie.
It is a beautiful film. It is beautiful, and I think it's well directed. It's just the story and everything else is just not. I
guess I'll say it's not for everybody, but for me, who's someone who probably the average moviegoer probably won't like the movies that I like.
Mm-hmm.
I
tend to like those artistic films, though. This one just didn't. It didn't have my attention. It just didn't. And Super, Super, thank you for looking it up. So Roma apparently is the city that the movie is based in, which I didn't know,
it's like the neighborhood or something. But gotcha. I mean, I don't really like that title. It should have been. I feel like it should have been something else.
Yeah.
But
the Maid's Tale. So that way they could have, banked off of The Handmaid's Tale. Because, I'm going to see The Handmaid's Tale. Wait, what is this? Oh. No, I'm kidding. Anyway.
But anyway. It emotionally moved me, and I thought it was gorgeously shot, and that's why I loved Roma.
Okay.
Some people
and to be honest, guys, if you like cinematography, if you like beautiful shots, you will like this movie because it is very well shot, black and white. It's gorgeous, and it is very, very well put together. But if you care more about pacing and a story keeping your interest throughout.
Yeah, if you're an action movie person, this is probably not the movie for you.
No. If you can sit through a drama, which to be honest, Tina, you might actually like this movie because I know how much you love a movie called Master and Commander, which I remember we were talking about it, and it's long, but also people were expecting to be something that it ended up not being. And I remember you really loved that movie, so you might enjoy this one, Tina. You might. But I just know that I didn't. But you had two different opinions on this topic. So, and I'm not going to put it to a vote because I know that I would probably win because everyone's biased and supporting me. But anyway, the fifth person who got nominated for directing is Adam McKay for Vice. Honestly, like, do you think this movie is getting any traction for any other fact than it's about the Bushes and Cheney and attacking them?
I'm like waiting to watch this movie until like the last minute because I'm like really don't want to watch it.
Yeah.
Because like what really kind of made me mad about Christian Bale's speech is that as an actor, you can't have a judgment about a person going into a role.
Yeah.
Like, then it's not going to be truthful then if you're going to put your judgment on this role. And I feel like he just like revealed that in his speech. And it like really made me mad because I'm like, you're not being true to the role then if you're just going to say, oh, I hated this person. I'm going to let everybody know how much I hated this person. And also, like, you could say, what if somebody played, for instance, like Hitler or something, and then like, I want to thank Satan because I played Hitler. But I'm like, obviously, Dick Cheney's probably not even close to Hitler.
Not in the minds of these people. In the minds of these people, there's no separation between the two. Satan, Dick Cheney, Hitler, they're all the same. And it's what's really sad because it's so interesting how everyone, when George H.W. just died, everyone was coming out saying, oh, he was so great. Oh, that was a better time. Oh, but then you actually go back to the footage of the media during this time as president. They were saying the same thing. The same thing they said about him. They said about Reagan. They said about George W. Bush. Same thing they're saying about Trump right now. And obviously, you know, Trump is it's an entirely different animal, an entirely different discussion altogether. But they've been saying the same thing for so long that we now just say, okay, well, you've been saying that forever. Who is an example? Basically, until you die and there's someone worse than you were, that's the only time they will give you any credit. Same thing happened with John McCain, too. Remember when John McCain was running in 2008? They ripped him to shreds. Oh, he's a racist. Oh, he's this worst person. And then all of a sudden he dies and everyone's like, oh, he's so great. He's so amazing. But go back to that Satan comment. It just amazes me that he thanked Satan and got applause. And yes, he was joking. I know he was joking. But the fact that he thanked Satan, got applause, and yet people get criticized when they thank God tells me everything that I need to know about the current state of Hollywood. That's just my own personal thought on that.
And I didn't really know. I mean, I was obviously a kid when Bush and Dick Cheney were in office, so I didn't really know a whole lot about like their politics and everything.
Yeah.
But then I feel like when I watch this movie, I feel like I'm not going to get the true story because I feel like it's going to be really biased.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can't really make a fair judgment on the directing because I have not seen the movie.
Yeah. And to be fair, and like, let me just be perfectly honest here. It's not even necessarily the topic of the movie because Adam McKay is also responsible for a movie that I really, really like. And that was the movie that came out that was all about the economic downturn during the housing crisis. The Big Short. I loved The Big Short.
I didn't like The Big Short.
See, I loved it because it was, to me, it was smart. It was well done. And I think it stayed true enough to the facts enough to be tolerable. Like, it didn't try and go off on its own thing, at least in my own opinion, like from what I saw. So I really liked it. So that's why it's not that I'm just hating on Adam McKay and his, you know, politically divisive choices. It's just that with this film, you see the trailer and you're like, okay, so this is just going to be about how George W. was an idiot. We already know, like, we've gotten that long enough, guys. We got it all 8 years. We got it long after. We got all 8 years of Obama because everything was Bush's fault. And it's just like, when is it going to stop? Like, when are you just going to just move on with your life? I don't know. But, oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. But let us just go to, for the sake of time. So there is one thing I want to talk about before getting into the big one for Best Picture. Actually, no, two things. So, no. 3 things. I swear, 3 things. Anyway, someone says, strategery. I mean, guys, it's easy. It's not hard to make jokes. It's hard to make an actual interesting movie. But before I get into these categories, huge shout out to William Jenkins for the $5 super chat. So before we get into that, he asked the question, what do you guys think will be the title of Star Wars Episode 9? By the way, Master Commander was great. So yes, we will be watching Master Commander. Tina mentions in the chat, her birthday is coming up in February. And so for her birthday, she has requested that we watch Master and Commander on
I've actually never seen
that weekend. So that'll be a good time. And it's going to be, and at this point, it's put in for February 23rd, which I think is a Saturday. That's closest to her birthday. So that will be fun. So that movie is going to be off the table. It's guaranteed. Nothing's going to change it. But anyway, so as being a huge Star Wars fan, as I know you are, Greta, when you talk up movies like Roma, you're obviously, or
I like Star Wars.
I know you do. I know you. I'm joking. But what do you think the Star Wars Episode 9 title is going to be?
I have no idea. I heard actually. I think like one of the first rumors was like the First Order, and I'm like, that's not that bad, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it hasn't been announced yet. I mean, it's coming out this year.
I'm both surprised and not, because I think that they're trying to wait for things to cool down. Because I don't know. I mean, I assume you were following it when I was covering it about how, Star Wars Theory was a YouTube channel, made a fan film, and it got copyrighted, and the money was going to Disney and other companies attached to it for various reasons, and then they stepped in. So yeah, I talked about all that. So I think they're kind of waiting for that to die down a little bit, because even though they stepped in and it got taken care of, it's still, I think, very tense. So that might be a reason why. Maybe they're going to wait for Celebration. I don't know if they'll wait that long, because that's still a couple months away. But
Mark Lurseth said woke from the dream. I was like, that's kind of funny. The Last Jedi and then woke from the dream.
Oh, I think everyone would love that. If it was woke from the dream, or the dream, or Jedi fog, or something like that, I think people would be like, oh, that means that The Last Jedi is going to get erased from existence. That'd be amazing. So for me, hold on, Super says, Ryan did an oopsie. Channeling my inner PewDiePie. So anyway, we had The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi. To be honest, since JJ is notorious for borrowing previous material in a lot of his work, and sometimes he does a very good job doing it, I would not be surprised if it has something with hope in the title. Star Wars, The Final Hope, The Last Hope, something to that effect. And it would not surprise me, because I think that he's going to try and make it a title that's going to have original trilogy fans be like, oh, it's just like the originals. It's very similar. But
I think that's too similar to A New Hope, though.
You don't think they're going to be that on the nose? I think they will be. I think they'll be very... Hope this makes money, says Rogue Baron. Yes, exactly. Star Wars. Hope this makes money. The search for more money.
Yeah, and I heard one name might be Son of Darkness, and I'm like, that sounds terrible.
Oh, God. I think that... See, to me, Episode 8, because some people are saying, oh, it's going to be Star Wars The Knights of Ren, or something to that effect, and then we'll know that they're going to be talked about. The problem with that is that that's not a good end title. That's not a good... Like, that would have been... Had Rian Johnson not been involved, that would have been the perfect middle movie. That would have been the perfect middle movie.
You know what I just thought of? Both the original trilogy ended with Return of the Jedi, right? And then the prequel is Return of the Sith, right?
Revenge of the Sith. But still but still similar.
It's going to start with an R.
It's going to start with an R, so maybe Return of the Force. Or Revenge of the Force. Ooh, Revenge of the Force. Revenge of the Phantom Menace. Yes. Revenge of the Soy in Darkness. Star Wars, hope it goes broke. Return of the Sith. Hybrid's laughing that you thought it was Return of the Sith. That would have been great if it was Return of the Sith. Maybe, hey, it could be Return of the Sith.
I've seen it.
It could be Return of the Sith. That would be interesting. But yeah. But anyway, so thank you very much for that question, William Jenkins. So getting into like the last three things I kind of want to talk about before two things before the third thing. So film editing. So I mentioned this in my video earlier, and do you remember, because I always forget, do you know what the stats are for a movie to win Best Picture, needing an editing nomination, and how accurate that is?
Well, you're like the stats person, but didn't you usually say the people who win editing usually win Best Picture? But I think they've been wrong recently, though.
It's not win, it's nomination. So basically, in all of the history of the Oscars, it's very unlikely that any movie that ever wins Best Picture has not also been at least nominated for Best Editing. And if that's the case, then there's only 5 contenders out of the 8 that we have: Black Klansman, Bohemian Rhapsody, The Favorite, Green Book, or Vice. So that is the only thing. That is the only thing keeping me from totally buying onto the Roma train, because Roma did not get nominated here. But it would be interesting, because if it does win, it's going to be a huge surprise for a lot of people. But what are your thoughts? Do you think that it makes sense for a movie to need editing nomination? Maybe let me try and look at that up while you talk to the people.
Well, I think editing is severely important for a movie. You could change an entire tone of a movie with editing, so it would make sense that the Best Picture winner would have to be at least nominated for Best Editing. So anybody else have a question?
That's all you have? That's it? I put the show in your hands. I put the show in your hands, and you have I have 2 lines that I can say. Oh, man.
This is why my videos have so many cuts, because I can't just talk and it's straight.
See, I didn't want to go to this site because I used to use this site Gold Derby all the time. But then when all the Harvey Weinstein stuff came out, they didn't cover it. This is a site that covers everything in Hollywood news, but they didn't touch Harvey Weinstein. And I was like, you shills. And I was like, I'm done. I'm done with you.
How much has Harvey Weinstein paid y'all?
I know, seriously. It was like, oh my God, why are you doing this? But they are very good at listing that kind of history. But anyway, so just know, guys, it's a very high percentage. You can look it up for yourselves. I'm sorry, I didn't have that prepared. But it's very high. It's a very high percentage. So once again, in order to win Best Picture, 90% of the time, roughly, movies that win Best Picture also have been nominated for editing. So those are the 5 movies. Green Book is there, which seems to indicate that Green Book is still the front runner. But then it also makes me worry, because in my mind, Roma is the dark horse. But what if they decide to give it to a Black Klansman? Or even worse, The Favorite, which I think would be.
You think The Favorite's worse than Black Klansman?
Yes.
I mean, considering the ending of Black Klansman.
Exactly. And that's the reason why, is because I didn't like The Favorite for a lot of it, other than the cinematography. Black Klansman, I loved it until the end, when the end just kind of ruined the entire movie. So that's the reason why it's like, I don't want any of those to win, but I think that Black Klansman or The Favorite could potentially, technically, historically, it's not out of the, conversation.
Yeah, that's true. You never know. There might be surprises.
Yes.
Like the year that Spotlight won, that was just out of nowhere.
But it was also not a surprise, because it let them attack the Catholic Church, which is something that they love to do in Hollywood.
Even so, I watched the movie and I fell asleep for that movie. I was
a good
bored.
movie, I thought. Really? I thought it was really
good.
Well, taste. They are different. All right, so the one other thing I want to talk about before Best Picture is the one that I think has hurt me the most, because we talked about snubs, and we talked about, Bradley Cooper being a major one. To me, I think the worst snub out of all these categories is the fact that Will You Be My Neighbor did not get nominated for Best Documentary.
I haven't seen it, but I hear
from
you that it's really good.
It's so good. And what makes me so mad is because it's positive. You just feel good. You go into it, it's Mr. Rogers, so that already makes you happy. But in the whole movie, it's all just about how he created the show, why he created the show, and all the lives that he touched in the process. And it's not
you would think everybody loves Mr. Rogers. Why wouldn't they nominate that?
Absolutely. And I'm wondering if it was too positive, and they wanted to get some more real stuff on there, which is why you got, RBG, which is all about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, which I'm telling you right now, RBG is winning. No question in my mind. Nope. Because they are going to use that as an opportunity to talk about Trump and the Supreme Court. Easily. I'm just saying it. The only other one that looks somewhat interesting is the one that's called Free Solo, where it's about the guy who's climbing a mountain face with no ropes.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. And it was National Geographic, and literally this man trained his entire life to do this and does it, apparently. And the whole time,
kind of he was that Man on Wire. That reminds me of that movie, that documentary.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And that was actually really good.
But this one's actually like following the guy as he does it. And they've got like a contract where if the man falls, So it actually looks interesting for that reason alone, because there's a lot of risk involved with it. But
yeah, I really haven't heard much about the documentaries this year.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm already not much of a documentary person in the first place, but the one documentary that I saw that I actually loved, Will You Be My Neighbor, totally snubbed. Did not make the cut. Another one that I haven't seen yet, but I hear it's good, is Three Identical Strangers, which I've heard good things about. But yeah, didn't get nominated because they would rather put in an RBG or something like that. And I think it's for political points, to be perfectly honest. That's just me. All right. Those are the two things I wanted to cover before getting into... first off, we need to shout out a William Jenkins $10 super chat. Thank you very much. Dude, you've been so generous tonight, Will. I really do appreciate it. On a serious note, I heard that Battlestar Galactica is the new sci-fi franchise to get a terrible reboot, and that maybe Stargate is next. I'm scared, bro. Tell me this is false. I don't follow television news that much, so I think Nerdrotic might be the best person to follow on that, because he's very much into television news. So I don't know if he's still in the chat or not, but go check him out. He might be able to tell you if he's making a video on that or not. But yeah, I think that reboots just need to stop. This is something that actually Greta can talk about, because Greta has some very specific thoughts about reboots, mostly movie reboots, but I think it all ties in together, because a reboot is a reboot is a reboot. So what are your thoughts on reboots, Greta?
Just stop. Like, I think the reason, like, I had a video about this, but the reason they're making reboots is to, like, nostalgia, and people think that they can make money off of solely nostalgia.
Yeah.
And I think people are super tired of it now, and I've been tired of it. But again, there are remakes that are good. Like, for instance, A Star Is Born is a good remake. Why? Because they take the original story and make it their own.
Absolutely
but
right.
It's just tiring now, like going to IMDb and seeing an article, this is getting a reboot, this is getting a remake, and it's like, well, like, why? Like, even if it's something like super like beloved too, like, there's literally no point. You can't capture the original magic of it. You just can't.
And I really like, and so, because someone asked like, what's worse, reboots or unnecessary prequels? I put them all into the same category. Anything that's a sequel, prequel, reboot, it's all the same to me, because it's all taking an original movie, original concept, and trying to bank on nostalgia or bank on something that was, you know, popular about a specific film. And I think Nerdrotic said it best. He said a 10-year ban on all reboots. Now, that would be interesting. I don't know if they would ever do that, because that's money it's money that they'd be kissing away. But no, I agree. I think that we should just do away with them, because it's really ruining things. And I think one of the greatest examples of that is Disney. Disney needs to stop rebooting every single animated feature into these so-called live-action remakes, when most of them are almost half at least CGI. I mean, Jungle Book was entirely, other than like one character, was almost entirely CGI. And yet it's a live-action remake, even though it's mostly just computer. So it's kind of an animated movie when you think about it. Like, let's just be honest here. When you look to movies coming up, like Hunchback just got announced. I love Hunchback. Probably my favorite Disney film ever. I don't want them to remake it, because the cartoon is perfect, and they're just going to make a CGI Quasimodo. You know that's what they're going to do at this point. And it's like, why would I want you to reanimate a movie that's perfectly fine?
And I feel like they're going to take away the darkness of the original movie.
Yeah.
Because that was such a dark movie. I can see them taking away all of that, and
which is not even as dark as the like original concept, which is pre-Disney.
Yeah.
And it also brings up another topic, which is that Disney has essentially made its billions off of other stories that they did not originally, which is kind of funny when you think about it. But it's also another reason why it's like, just stop. You already technically rebooted the Aladdin or Hunchback or all the other movies that they've made off of previous material. So now you're rebooting the reboot into a live action, when most of it's just going to be animated anyway. Lion King is one that I think, personally, I don't think Lion King is going to be as successful as people think it is.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Like, it doesn't look very interesting to me. If it's going to be a shot-for-shot remake, like, just watch the original.
Yep. I
Like,
just
I don't
don't see
care to
it.
see CGI lions talking to each other.
Exactly right. I don't. And just to get back to your point one, Will, again, I don't know the full story on Battlestar Galactica or Stargate, but I would not be surprised because Hollywood is out of ideas and they will reboot any movie, any TV series if they think that it's going to make a quick buck. And it's a really sad state that we're in because we're losing out on some really good stories that are being told now, but they get overshadowed by the prequel, sequel, remake, reboot nonsense. So, but good question. Thank you, Will, for that. All right, so these are the movies that got nominated for Best Picture. I'll just read them all, and then we'll just kind of just go through and say our quick thoughts before wrapping things up for the night, because I'm not sure. Guys, can anyone tell me, has the High Council gone live, and if so, what channel? Because normally they let me know if the High Council is on, because I know that a lot of people try and go here before the High Council. So while we wait for that answer, Blake, what's going on, man? I've seen your comments throughout the chat. Sorry I've not been able to get to them. Thoughts on Avatar Last Airbender cartoon? I've never seen it. Ivan and I were supposed to watch together, but I know he's been really busy, and he's been taking a break to take care of family, which is obviously more important than anything. So we're kind of on a hold for that. Peabody says Greta didn't play fair when she asked for when she asked first full-length animated movie. What did we know about silhouette puppet movies? I was talking about a video that Greta did. That's really cool, actually. I actually did not know that, and that was fascinating. So go check out her
Actually, I
video.
think technically, I don't think she made the first full-length feature film. I think it's the first surviving one.
Okay.
Actually. But still, like you probably think that Snow White is the first feature-length animated film, but it's actually not.
Okay.
But yeah.
Gotcha. All right, the High Council is live with World Class. Gotcha. With Anna and Doomcock. So Doomcock got invited back. I've only been invited once. I'm hurt. I am heartbroken. All right, yeah, let's just go ahead and go through this real quick, though. So the nominees for Best Picture at this year's Oscars are Black Panther, Black Klansman, Bohemian Rhapsody, The Favorite, Green Book, Roma, A Star is Born, and Vice. Which, yes, that means they could have added 2 other films that probably deserve to be on there. Like, for me, personally, my favorite film of the year was Bad Times at the El Royale. But, of course, that movie didn't get any love this year, which makes me mad. I thought at least maybe a writing nomination, but no. Not going to happen. So, and then there's obviously other movies, too. Like Infinity War would have been a cool one to see on there. That would have been nice.
Really interesting if like Black Panther and Infinity War would have gotten nominated. That would have it kind of would have made it a little less random.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely true. And just also so you guys know, because I have not sold this up enough. Seriously, the Wednesday Raven Award nominations are awesome because we have not just Best Movie and Best Picture, but speaking of reboots for a second, we have 2 categories right next to each other that I personally love because I just think they work well. Not only do we have Most Unnecessary Remake, so that's like worst remake, your least favorite remake, the one that really shouldn't have been made that's stupid, but right next to it, we have the best pointless remake because I am establishing that remakes are pointless and stupid, but I also acknowledge that there are certain remakes that actually are pretty good or are well done that I might like. For example, we talked about A Star is Born. I also like The Star is Born. However, it's also a remake that's kind of pointless in me, in my own mind. So anyway, those are the kinds of categories that you can vote on. And again, you can pick your own movie there. You don't have to. And also, guys, you can skip categories. You don't have to choose every single category if you don't want to. So, and Heimdall has posted just in time to nominate movies. So, Nerdrotic, you have a good one. Thank you for listening. And yes, let us talk and let us get together soon. So anyway, let's just go down the list. Black Panther. History. First ever superhero film ever in history to get nominated. You're not excited?
I mean, again, I was like, that's random.
Me too.
Yeah, and like again, I watched it. I was like, that was good. I would never think Oscar though.
Yeah, it's a movie that I've said this before. It's a B movie in my opinion, and the reason why I say that is because it was okay the first time I saw it. There were issues that I could point out, and I have no desire to ever watch it again.
Mm-hmm.
I can't give an A to that. I can't.
Yeah, it definitely had a lot of problems, and I think I said it in like a little Twitter review, and it was that. And there's like another thing. The main character, Black Panther, he's the least interesting character. Like I loved everybody else but him.
Yeah.
Like no, wasn't a bad actor.
Yeah.
He just was just kind of a boring character.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved all of the side characters. And then the CGI is just not good, too.
Especially compared to Infinity War. Infinity War has such better CGI, which makes sense because they had more money, and that was obviously where their attention was. But
yeah, but there's like a lot of other like even action movies where like there's the car crash. It looks so cartoonish, like when the car falls apart and there's like other things, and I'm like, it's much better in a lot of other movies.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a very good point.
What else and also I felt like the fight scenes looked like they were choreographed. They didn't look very natural.
Yeah. Absolutely. I would agree with you there. I just don't like it because it got nominated for one reason. It's because it's mostly a black cast. Like, let's just be honest. And it just makes me sad that, in my opinion, it's going to have that asterisk next to it. The first superhero film ever to be nominated before The Dark Knight, before Infinity War, before anything else, because of the diversity or lack. Like, it's so funny how it's like that's diversity, but it's like, okay, so you're saying that a movie, in order to be diverse, needs to have a 98% black cast, and that's diverse.
They have 2 other speaking roles who are white in it.
Yep, 2.
And by the way, Andy Serkis and Martin Freeman were amazing in the movie.
Oh, they're both great, and there's a lot of great actors, regardless of color or gender, in that movie.
Like,
but that's not a good enough reason. Their
really
gender or race is not a good enough reason to nominate them for Best Picture. It's just And to me, this is a response to just everything that is wrong with Hollywood right now is, to me, embodied in Black Panther and their choice to make it a movie. Black Klansman, as I said before, I personally I forgot that Jordan Peele is actually a producer on this, so that's kind of interesting. Overall, I thought that it was funny. And then the last 5 minutes happen, and you realize, oh, he was baiting you the whole time so that he could whoop this modern political narrative onto you. And that was the whole purpose of the movie.
It's a great movie, and then once, like, you get to the last 5 minutes, just turn it off.
Yeah.
And you just,
like, if you want to think that it's the greatest movie he's ever made, turn it. As soon as you see a cross burning, turn it off.
Yep.
That is your sign. Turn it off. But if you want to find out how to ruin...
No, actually, up until they're at the door with their guns, and then turn it off.
I would even say further. To be honest. Yeah, I would say, again, the cross burning. I would say...
is that before?
Cross burning is the very last thing before they switch over to the 2016 to 2018 footage.
Yeah, like, right when, like, the actual movie ends.
Yep.
And not when the, like, real-life clips begin.
Yes. Which, again, is signaled from what I can remember was by a cross burning. Once they show the cross burning, because the whole point is that you see the cross burning, and then it basically goes back and forth between that and Charlottesville, that and a Trump speech, that and like everything else. So basically, you find out the whole time is that the movie was an attempt to try and attack Trump. It was the whole purpose of the movie.
Yeah, it just left a bad taste in my mouth when I saw that. I was just like, it was such a good movie, and then
it's like, yes, and it is a true statement. You can absolutely ruin you can ruin a movie that's an hour and 45 minutes of awesomeness in 5 minutes. Because once those 5 minutes happen, you're like, oh, this makes everything make more sense in context, and I hate it. So, but yeah, Black Klansman is a movie that could have been awesome had Spike Lee just not let his ego get in the way at the very end. Bohemian Rhapsody, we both like it. It's great.
Yeah.
It's a fun time. It's not the best movie ever, but it's definitely, I think, worthy of being in the list.
Yeah, it's a very enjoyable movie. You'll, like, come out of the movie very happy.
Yep, absolutely. Very fun
I'm
time.
making a huge Queen fan again.
And also, if you like Queen's music, you'll like this movie.
I mean, obviously.
It's a lot of Queen music. It's like almost like a nonstop. Obviously, there's points in between, but it's like a music video, and all the shot for shots that they do of these concerts, like the AIDS Life. Yeah, it's just amazing. It really is well done. The worst part of the movie, as Greta said, is the fact that these teeth that they put in to make him look more like Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, they're very distracting.
Not only are they distracting, but they also affect how he gives lines. And that's never a good thing. That's never a good thing. Next up is The Favorite. This is a movie that you don't have to see. You're not missing anything by not seeing it.
Well, you could see the performances, though.
Even so, you could see better performances from Rachel Weisz in other movies because she's solid in almost anything that she does. So you're not really missing much because you can get your Rachel Weisz kick by in another movie. Emma Stone, you could see her in better movies too. And it's got good cinematography, but you can see that in. I'd rather you go see Roma for cinematography than this movie.
Yeah, I mean, Olivia Colman is also really good, and she's like such a cute person too. Like, I love when you didn't watch the Globes, but she won Best Actress for a comedy, and she was just adorable.
Yeah.
But the performances are good. It's kind of out there.
Yeah.
It's like not what you think it's gonna be, and the ending is just weird and doesn't make sense.
As it's meant to be, of course. Next on the list is Green Book. Out of this entire list, that is my favorite movie on the list. It's the movie that I think deserves to win Best Picture of this list. It's the movie that I think is by far the best. And the reason why is because even though if you just read the synopsis, you'll think, oh, this sounds woke. It's not. Like, the movie itself is not. And that's why I love it.
I remember when I was like, Odin, this is such a great movie. You're like, oh, I bet it's not. I bet it's not. And I'm like, no, you've got to see it. And then he saw it.
Yep, I did. And it's one of those things, too, where when I saw this movie, I had just come from seeing another movie, so I did not get a new ticket for this one. But I liked it so much that I plan on buying it on Blu-ray when it comes out. Because it's that good.
Yeah. And if they want to go with the diversity thing, then they should definitely have this movie win Best Picture.
It's not authentically diverse, though, because the director is white, and to my knowledge, the writer is white, too. And the producers, a lot of them are white. So it just wouldn't be a good image for this movie to be about diversity, but then it's mostly white people on stage. I guarantee you that might be what sinks this movie, is that image. They don't want to have that image.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Now, if it was a black director, black writer, all black producers, it would be instantaneous. And then we've been having a very different discussion because then at that point, it's not that they're awarding a film because it's awesome. They're rewarding people for
they would be talking about how the director and writers are black.
Yep, that would be the entire narrative, and that would suck because it is a good movie. Like, it's a great movie. It's funny too. It's funny. This might even be my favorite comedy of the year, and it's not even officially a comedy. That's how well written it is, which is amazing.
The writing is fantastic.
Which is amazing seeing that this comes from Peter Farrelly, who has made terrible, terrible movies.
What has he written?
So, I like Dumb and Dumber, but he's done Dumb and Dumber 2.
Oh.
He's done, that guy. The Farrelly brothers. Him and his brother have done some really bad comedies. Just look him up, and you're like, oh my god, this is the same person? It's like night and day. It seriously is.
Didn't they have a lot of influence from Tony Lip's son, though? Didn't he help in the writing of this movie?
Is that Nick Vallelonga?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think like when it won the Golden Globe for Best Writing, and he went up on stage, so I think he had a lot to do with the writing as well.
Yeah, and he actually, I know that he got in trouble for some things that he said, which is why some people said that he might not get any recognition, which is, again, but yeah, those have several producers. I don't know the races of any of them because I don't care. Because as long as they made a good movie, that's what the Oscars are supposed to be about. Again, I would rather watch a movie blind, Richie A, welcome to the channel, because all I care about is the story good with great characters. But the fact that Hollywood has become so obsessed with race and gender matter, it's like, well, no wonder why people are turning the screen off. Next up is Roma. Greta loved it. I hated it. So it is on Netflix, so you can make it up.
Hate is a strong word.
All right, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I did not like it. I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it.
Wasn't your cup of tea.
Wasn't my cup of tea. Beautifully made. Again, wonderful cinematography. Alfonso Cuarón will probably win for direction and possibly even for cinematography. I think he's definitely a good chance there. And I think that he would deserve cinematography. Direction, if you go by career, sure. Especially since Bradley Cooper is not in this one. Out of everyone else on the list, he's the only person that I would give it to. Because The Favorite, meh. Cold War, haven't seen it. Probably won't. Vice, no plans to see it, at least not in a legitimate way. And BlacKkKlansman, I mean, I know that you don't want Spike Lee going up on stage giving a speech. I don't think
Yeah. Oh
anyone.
gosh, could you imagine?
Oh, it would be a nonstop, and they would let him keep talking and talking and talking. They'll give him all the time in the world, and he'll have one singular message.
Ugh.
And Hybrid says the fried chicken scene in Green Book is memorable enough to wash my memory from Black Panther's third act. Oh my God, you're so right, though. I never thought I would laugh at something like that, but the way, because here's the thing, they take things that are like stereotypes. They take things that could be offensive, like that could be cringeworthy of, oh, why is this character doing this? But they do it in such a way where it makes you laugh, saying, oh, these are two people who are both from different sides of the coin, not just from race, but also intellectually. Because, you know, Mahershala Ali's character is so smart, is so bright, and you know, he's an idiot. Like the driver, he's he's an idiot, and it's really cool to see that dynamic throughout the film.
Yeah, and I even said this in my like best movies of 2018.
Yeah.
Was that I had a black couple sitting right next to me. We were laughing at the same things.
Yep.
Like sad at the same parts. Like it's a movie for everybody.
Yep.
No matter who you are or what your background is.
Yep. So I would definitely recommend watching it because it's great. But yeah, Roma, again, you can decide who won that battle, and you can decide for yourself if you're going to watch it on Netflix after we get off the air. So A Star is Born, we both liked. Yeah. I think that it's a pointless remake, but
we saw it at the same time.
That's true. We did. We ended up being, yeah, that's right.
You and your wife were like a few rows under me.
It was so funny. I was like, oh, look, it's Greta. That's right. So great movie. Again, really well done. It is a remake of a remake of a remake, possibly of a remake. I don't know. Is this the fourth one overall?
I think there was one in 1937, 1954, 1976, 2018. Yeah, so there's 4.
So this is number 4. So take that for what you will, but it is well done. Bradley Cooper does a great job. Bradley Cooper can also sing, which I loved. And
he sounds amazing.
I wish that him and Lady Gaga would tour together and sing the music from the show, because that's the other thing too.
Just listen to Shallow. It's beautiful.
Shallow is beautiful, and actually I didn't even check for that, but let me just make sure, because if it's
it's nominated.
Okay, good. I'm about to say, if that did not get nominated for score.
Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga said that they will perform it at the Oscars.
I cannot wait, because I would love to see that video.
Oh, there's no way that it's not going to win. So. Like, come on.
So I'm not going to watch it live, but I'll watch it later on, because
I'll let you know during the
Yes, thank you very much, because she'll be watching both at the same time. So yeah, Star is Born is definitely good. Should be on this list, I think, for sure. Not
very entertaining.
Yeah, very entertaining. And then Vice, I have no intention of ever seeing it. Just gonna be honest.
I might just see it just because it's nominated, but I'm not going to enjoy myself.
I can see the whole time you're like, oh, great, they're making fun of Bush. Well, I didn't see that coming. Oh.
Not that I'm like, love George Bush.
No, and that's the thing. I'm not defending the guy, but it's like you get to a point where, okay, we understand he wasn't the brightest bulb. We understand. We get it. Stop beating the dead horse. And with Cheney, too, it's like they were beating that dead horse long before he came back from the dead somehow, some way. Oh, Lord. But, yeah, I just... meh. But in conclusion, any final thoughts on the Oscars? Anything that you want to talk about that maybe I didn't bring up, or a category that I maybe skipped? I'll let you have kind of the last bit on the Oscars before we wrap things up.
I mean, this is still not as bad as the 2016 Oscars or 2017 Oscars. That will just like go down in history as the worst Oscars ever. It's just like a close second though. And I thought last year it was getting better, but then this year it kind of went down again. But I think like I really do have hope, and I like it. Even in history with politics, it goes from one end to the other end. And I'm just hoping in the next few years, people will really get tired of everything, and they will see like the box office numbers, and they actually make a change. And probably, maybe even with the next election, I mean, who knows?
I'm kind of scared, to be honest, because I don't even want to think about 2020, because at this point, it's like a lose-lose no matter what way you go.
I mean, that is true.
And it's Lord. Anyway, William Jenkins says, did you ever listen to ERB's Teddy Roosevelt versus Winston Churchill? Oh, Epic Rap Battles of History's Teddy Roosevelt versus Winston Churchill. It's effing great. No
Epic
beating a
rap
dead
battle.
horse. But I say, I actually don't really like the Epic Rap Battles that much. My best friend, Dave, loves them. I just have never gotten into them. But I'm glad that you liked it, Will Jenkins. And Will, you've been awesome. Like, seriously, thank you so much for all your super chats. It really does mean a lot.
Yes,
And
thank you, Will.
So, Greta, have you ever seen this Epic Rap Battle of History?
No, I have not.
Okay. Well, sounds like you got some homework to do. And
Okay.
yes, I agree, Frank 2020. Yep, absolutely. Frank for president. No question in my mind. And yeah, so Greta, thank you very much for being a part of tonight's One Man Low Council. Thank you once again
Thank you for having me.
Thank you once again to Laura for extending her spot to have
thank you to Laura.
Greta on. Absolutely right. And do you want to plug your channel before we end things?
Sure. Guys, I have a channel. I just got started like maybe last month. I'm not super sure what I'm doing with it, but it's going to be about movies. In college, I wrote a lot of research papers on movies, and I thought they were very interesting. And so I've kind of taken those and made them into visual essays. And a lot of people have really liked them. And I might do like some fun ones. Like my last one was me reacting to my first lead role in a play. And it had been 10 years, and it was really fun to make. And I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be a YouTuber or not. I mean, it's just something that I thought would be really fun. And I'm always open to like criticism or comments or anything you want me to do. So
yeah,
let me know if you like my videos. And
it's funny that you mentioned it's funny that you mentioned that video, because then I realized that, oh, it's been 10 years since my first lead role in a musical. Because I'd had like featured roles previously, but in 2009 I had my first lead role ever, and it was Adam in Children of Eden, and I still have the DVD, and I've considered putting it up for my patrons to allow them to be able to watch it, but I haven't decided yet for sure. So I'll see what my patrons have to say about that.
You should have recorded yourself watching it and made a reaction video.
I really could have. I could have done that. But then that would require me to edit it down, because
it took so long to edit.
I just don't have the patience or the skills for it.
And obviously I didn't want to do the entire play, or else it would have been like a 2-hour video. Like I had to do like what my best reactions were.
Yeah.
So I bet nobody knows what this play is actually about, because I cut a lot of the scenes out.
Yeah.
But
and also, and this is not a slight against you or anyone else, but I always watch my videos on 1.5 to 2 speed. So just because I don't have time, and so I try to watch everyone's stuff as fast as possible, because also my brain.
My video is like 30 minutes long.
my brain can also keep up with it for some reason, and so it was really funny to see it all like sped up, because.
Wait, you watched it sped up?
Yeah, so I was watching it at like 1.5 to 2 point speed, and it was really great, because like there were times when you'd like jump up on the table and it'd just be so fast, and I was like, oh my god, this is great, I love it.
And my high pitched.
Yeah.
That must have sounded like a mouse.
It did. Well, because luckily it doesn't change when you speed it up. It doesn't change the tone of voice at all. So it was still the same tone, but it was just faster at a faster clip. But I read one comment that I have to read, and it wasn't highlighted or anything, but I just thought you'd appreciate this, because I know that you've gotten this a lot. So Hamlet Shirt 89 says Greta equals the not obnoxious Ellen Page.
Oh, literally. Ever since Juno came out in 2007, everyone says that I am Ellen Page's twin. Literally, everybody. And that's what I came out like 11 years ago? No, 12 years ago.
Oh my god, it's been
ever since then. They're like, "Did you know you look like Ellen Page?" I get that all the time. I personally don't see it, but
yeah.
Sure, she's pretty, so thank you.
Well, thank you, Hamlet89, for that comment. And also, everybody, thank you all for joining us on this stream. We talked about SAG, we talked about the Oscars, we talked about a lot of things, and I hope that you learned something. I hope that you liked it. And I know that some of you, for all you guys hanging around, let's see, we got about 46 people still watching. Thank you. I know the High Council is going on right now, and I try not to go up against them, but I wanted to make sure we were able to cover everything that we were able to cover, because I was able to have Greta on, and Greta is a brilliant person, especially when it comes to movies and the Oscars. And so I wanted to make sure I was able to give her all the time in the world. So thank you, Greta, once again for joining and for taking Laura's spot, and also just for being a patron. And speaking of which, let me go ahead and shout out my patrons one more time. Let me refresh it just to make sure that it's all up to date. So let me give a huge shout out to A Grey Jedi, Adam Shawhan, Dave Bob, Delete System 32, Donald Hudson, Edward Coleman, Enrique Evangelista, Frank the Tank, and the Shawhan Wiener Dog Clan, Greta Zenner, thank you once again, Greta, for being a patron as well, Harold Francis, The Hunky Chunky, Funky Monkey, Inflamed Wood, It's a Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jeffrey Toon, Laura Story, Matthew Kadish, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin, Outpost Dyer, Perpetual Punster, Proper Jeremy, who is one of the worst people I've ever met in my entire life. I'm kidding, I love you, Proper. The DJD Show, Those Two Ball Guys, Tina B, and Wolfgang Lounge. Thank you all so much for being my patrons. Blake, Hamlet Shirt, thank you. Hyperin, also, thank you, Frank, for being here as a mod. And to my Valkyrie, Tina, and Steph, you are both amazing people. And I cannot wait to get you guys onto a show, because I know the world wants to see Tina and Steph and hear you guys talk about various things.
Oh man, that's gonna be epic.
But if you cannot wait, if you go to Patreon and you become at least a $5 backer, you can have access to a podcast episode where I interview the Valkyrie. And you'll get to hear them and get to know more about them and get into their life and realize just how amazing they both are. So once again, thank you, Tina and Steph, for being awesome, for putting down links, for reminding everyone what's going on. Yeah, the Flash Gordon stream is going on this Saturday, so get your Flash Gordons ready so that way you can watch it with us. And
I'll be there with trivia.
Yes, so Greta's not going to be working, which is great. And so she'll be here with trivia. We missed her for 12 Angry Men, but I think that I did a decent job, because I do know something about it since it's one of my favorites. And yeah. So anyway, guys, thank you once again to Tina, Steph, Greta, and to all the patrons. You are all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful evening. And
good night, everybody.
Yes, sorry, I should have let you say goodbye first. And as always, God bless. Let's rock.